Hello and welcome to Tarot with Tanya. This is 7 cards for 7 days. We are looking at the week of Monday, July 21st through Sunday, July 27th. That end of the month is coming up fast. As always, please take what resonates for you, leave the rest behind. It's a general reading for the collective. So you develop your intuition by kind of bouncing off of, what others offer and seeing, again, if it resonates with you or just doesn't seem to, and letting it pass you by. So I'll talk a little bit about the astrology for this week, and then we'll go to the 7 cards, and we'll end with a Tree Keeper's Oracle card. So we start our week with the moon in Cancer, and that's its natural place. It's about home, family, nurturing others, nurturing the self, cooking, feeling safe, protected at home, or trying to make that happen. And it's a water sign. Then it's going to move to Leo. And we have a new moon in Leo this week. So it's we also have the sun moving into Leo. I'll talk about that in a moment. So it's kind of like all things Leo this week. It's interesting to me too, because in the cards, the one element that did not show up is fire, and Leo, of course, is a fire sign. So we got sun and moon there this week, so no fire needed in the cards. So Leo, very creative, dramatic. It's about romance and children, drama, theater, things like that. Of course, it's the king, and the opposite of Aquarius. I'll talk about this a little bit more when I talk about the sun going there tomorrow, on Tuesday rather. And it is just a really powerful time for that kind of creativity and looking at those issues. Children again, romance, drama, where you have your power in your life. And then we're going to end the week next Sunday with the moon in Virgo. Earthy, practical, organized, sensible Virgo. All right, so then on Tuesday, that's when the sun enters Leo, as I mentioned, and it will be sextiling the planet Uranus, and that means it's some kind of an opportunity. And as I mentioned, for Leo, romance, creativity, children, confidence, courage. It is very warm-hearted, very generous. That's how Leos tend to be, optimistic. Because of the sextile to Uranus, and Uranus being the planet of the unexpected, some things could happen like that just out of the blue, it seems, on that day. It could be a very socially dynamic day because, again, Sun, Leo, and then sextiling Uranus, which has just entered Gemini. So you could have a good sense of timing. It could be perfect for inventing and independent enterprises. All right. So Wednesday, that's my son's birthday, by the way. Venus is square Mars. Well, that's a little bit tough. So it's not really a great day for socializing. I mean, you've got the Venus, the planet of the feminine, squaring, or that's very tense in an aspect. Mars, the planet of masculinity. So it could be a little tough on financial matters, again, on socializing. We might be a little bit too blunt. There could be family strains. It could leave us feeling sensitive. maybe impatient, aggressive. So how do you deal with that? Get some exercise, do something creative, use the body in doing that, because that's where the Mars needs to burn off the energy. On Thursday, the 24th, we have the Sun trining Saturn. Now that's a much easier aspect. That's a good flow without tension. And we have the Sun also trining Neptune, because Saturn or Neptune are right there together at the beginning of Aries right now. And then the Sun will be opposite Pluto, because Pluto's in Aquarius, and the Sun will just be entering Leo. So those are opposites. So that makes Thursday a good day or time to re-examine our habits and life structures. That's really where Saturn comes in. That's where Pluto comes in. There can be a real structuring energy and a transformational energy. Neptune can be unclear because it's dipping us into the collective unconscious. So it's a big opportunity to dip into that, but that can be tough in making decisions. But with the Sun there trining it and trining Saturn, that could be helpful in finding some more of that structure. So you want to try to it's a good day for putting the domestic life in order. Don't take too many chances or waste resources. We want to respect authority. There could be idealism. That's where the Neptune comes in. It can be very psychic too, because Neptune is that. And we want to try not to be too forceful. That's the Pluto part. So to yield without compromising our integrity, and to focus more on cooperation and open discussion. So that's our week in the stars. So the big things again are the Sun moving into Leo, Moon this week as well. So lots of energy that direction. In terms of the cards, I'm using the Wildwood deck, and our first card is the Four of Cups for Monday, the 21st. And this is always a sort of, there's just it's called, I think, stagnation, something like that in the Thoth deck. And it does seem that here it's boredom, and she looks bored. But I think in a way it's an emotional, I kind of don't know what to do with myself at the moment. Like things were really good, and maybe I should feel something, but I'm not sure. So it's just this moment of don't quite know what to do. So that's our Monday. The nice thing about fours is they're all connected to the Emperor. So I would encourage using it for a moment of structure. In the sense of allowing the structure to emerge, not structuring necessarily, but just being there and allowing things to come forward. The structure being part of the Emperor's job. Then on Tuesday, we have the 10 of arrows. Vessels in this deck are water. Arrows are swords, typically. So here you have the air element. And it looks like an elderly, like a grandfather perhaps, teaching a child how to use a bow and arrow. Well, 10 of Swords has this things have come to an end. This path is no longer viable. This is done. So here I like it because it shoots off in a new direction, and that is implied when you get to the 10. In a way, you're back to the 1. So you let that old go and you find that new path. So that's our Tuesday energy. On Wednesday, we're back to vessels. We began the week on vessels. Now we have the Queen, and we have, I think, two royal cards or people cards this week, and they're both in vessels. So there's definitely a feminine counterbalancing, it feels to me, to all this masculine astrology that we have this week. So here you see the fish leaping, of course, and a beautiful, I would say, summery day. And this one sometimes is called the water fairy. It's a double feminine, a queen, which is already a feminine energy, and then the water, another feminine energy. So it can be very psychic, very intuitive, very creative, emotionally gifted, empathic, tuned in that way. The dark side can be spacey or kind of overly, into other people's psychic space. But I think it's a beautiful card with a wonderful energy that we can use for loving the self and others as well. When we get to Thursday, we get our first of two majors for this week. And this one is so different than most decks. It's number 12, which makes it the Hanged Man. Here it's called the Mirror, and you see this very different creature, a sort of mermaid. She doesn't really have the fish tail. It's more, I don't know, a dragony sort of tail, snake-like in a way. She has her eyes closed. She holds a mirror, which is a classic feminine sign. The moon, another classic feminine symbol, I should say. And then it always reminds me of Arthur and the Lady of the Lake. This is a British deck, a Celtic deck. And you have the person floating in the boat, which was a way of burial and sometimes setting them on fire and so forth. Here with the eyes closed, it's like, what is the inner knowing? How can it's like she's not even looking at the mirror. There's the mirror which can show the external, but she goes to the symbol of the, in a way, internal mirror with the eyes closed. So there's a really interesting, almost rejection of the external to go to the deeply internal. And this could even be seen as the masculine self, balancing this very deep mystical feminine. And then of course I need to mention the crane here, I think heron, that's what this one reminds me of. The long-legged birds that wade in fish, very balanced, I think very regal, beautiful flyers, beautifully feathered, their plumage is gorgeous. So it's a very mystical card in that one. Again, that's our Thursday. So this is like right when the sun is that right? No, that happens on Tuesday. So by this time, this is when we have all those trines. Sun trining Saturn, Neptune, and opposing Pluto. So I can see how this could be a moment when Sun and Pluto are kind of counterbalancing, and you want to go inward to feel those energies. All right, we come to our Friday, and we have another feminine element, stone, which is earth in this Wildwood deck. And this is an ace. So we have this new beginning, and I think there's an ending on the next day, and then after that 10 of arrows, it seems sort of appropriate to go back to the beginning, sort of reintegrate in a more conscious way into one's own body. I swear there's so much going on now. Sometimes I'm like, what is happening? And I feel all strange, and then I sort of integrate again, and then, you go along for a while, you sort of plateau, and then more weird energies come in. So I think taking the time to absorb this Leo sun coming in, this Leo moon coming in, what does it mean? What are the creative new dynamic directions that you choose to go? And really taking a moment and trying to embody that, maybe in one small way. Move a piece of furniture or a piece of art or some little detail, something tangible that helps you feel like you're going in a new positive direction. Then, as I mentioned, second major for the week, and that is the world here. And obviously this one is the world tree in particular, and if you notice its leaves and branches, you've got the 4 seasons represented there, all on one tree. I love the maze in front of, the labyrinth rather, and that tiny door down there that leads inward. So it's all going into, to me, this like ancestry. We all have a tree, a family tree. This seems like the tree of the world family. We're all connected. We're connected to the planet. Of course, the trees are, and we're connected to them, therefore, and so forth. So this card traditionally has this meaning of ending of a major cycle. And I believe that is where we are, that things are changing, things are ending. It's pretty uncomfortable. I think it's for the better, for the good, but in all honesty, it's pretty uncomfortable. So hang in there, know that spirit world is supporting us. This is meant to happen, and we'll be in a better place once we get through this. And hopefully enjoy yourself in the meantime in whatever ways you can. All right, last card for the week. This is our Sunday, which is the 27th, and we have also the final people or royal card, and this time we have the Page of Vessels. So the pages are like, oh, maybe princess, daughter, depends on the deck, but they're the first in the sequence of the royal cards, the page, the knight, the queen, the king. So this one tends to be feminine, and again a double feminine, just like our Queen of Vessels. So that's really emphasized this week. As I said, I believe it's kind of counterbalancing that fiery Leo energy. And this could be the lovely or the beloved daughter, or somebody who's very sweet and psychic and intuitive, empathic, tuned into other people, just a younger version of that Queen of Vessels. So this can be the self, this can be a young person, it doesn't have to be a female, but with somebody with a strong feminine energy leaning in this direction. So it's a very sweet place to end for our week. All right, we'll go to our oracle card. And what came up this week was the Keeper of Endings. And I thought, well, how fitting with that World Tree card that's echoing it. So the forest is a place of endings and beginnings, and no one honors the process of ending quite like the tree keepers. They carefully watch for the signs of illness, decay, or death, tending what can be mended, letting go of what has served its purpose in the great weave of nature's tapestry. The Japanese word akeru means to pierce, to begin, to end. Over and over we are reminded that endings contain beginnings inside them, and the piercing of grief creates a sacred opening in our psyche where new life may pass through. We need to mourn our endings and give the heart the space to process loss. But be careful not to tread too closely to despair, for while ending carries new life inside it, despair keeps us from seeing it clearly. So grieving, but letting it, and then not but grieving and letting it go, letting that ending happen so we can come to that new beginning. I think there's a lot of that going on out there. All right, and in here inside too. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Please share, like, subscribe. It's free. Let me know if you have questions, or reach out for a personal reading. There'll be information below in the description box and at the end of the video. So love you, beloveds. I'll see you again in 7 days.